Hello Internet, welcome to another Monday Miniatures Ramble with me, Dakian. Today we've reached Monday the 7th of May, 2018, and I have completed these 4 Reaper miniatures of various ladies. Now, the first 2 here are the 2 different versions of Mariziel from the Pathfinder line. And what can I say except, well, they were kind of tricky, and it's a case of the sculptor perhaps being too beholden to the original artwork. I mean, I understand they couldn't, I mean, there is tons of artwork in the Pathfinder books of this character, and so the sculpts, of course, had to copy that as closely as they could. Unfortunately, that creates something that's really hard to paint with a lot of finicky little detail. All the studs on her leather armor, they're very hard to make those come across in any sensible way at this scale. But otherwise, I'm sort of okay. Then these 2 are from, I think they're from the Warlord's range. I'm not sure. I think this is supposed to be a priestess of some sort. And you'll notice I've painted them sort of the same colors. This is because I'm intending them to be in the same sort of faction when we get to using these in role-playing. And these were slightly complicated as well, but, you know, experimenting, seeing what happens, could perhaps have made the webbing a bit more clear on the skirt. Not sure. Oh well. Anyway, these 4 are the only minis I've completed. I also made these 4 bases without minis, to call them a home, as experiments in using some of my more complex basing stamps, and they're okay. I suppose when they're covered up by a mini, they'll look alright. But I'm starting to think using basing stamps to make something very 3-dimensional is, yeah, not going to work out that well. Maybe those stamps were bad investments. I still like them for relatively flat textures, like for example the stone work on these bases is stamped, and that's perfectly fine. I'm not sure the roof shingles here come across as well, but oh well, it's something. Yeah. So, anyway, that was the completed pile for this week. We move on to works in progress. Yeah, these guys, the humans are coming along very well, these Spellcrow miniatures. They're rather close to completion. Well, they're somewhere between 50 and 75% complete. Possibly you couldn't tell because they're looking really messy now, but it's one of those things that comes together at the end. The catfolk, not as much done on those. And yeah, the Reaper Bones minis, like the Kraken, I've actually done a little bit more work on the Kraken, but it's not something you would be able to notice the difference really between this week and last week, so there's no point showing it to you. Yeah, I'll hopefully more visible progress next week. So let's go on to stuff that's still in prep. So stuff in various stages of prep. The Hassle-Free minis have been primed with a sort of zenithal priming job. Perhaps difficult to see here, but there's slightly more gray in the shaded areas. As I've said, I didn't attach the shield. The base looks better with paint on it. This thing looks too flat and uninteresting. I'm gonna have to do something with that. Not sure what. Oh well, I'll think of something. Here we have the cracked earth effect. Looks also okay, I think. Some paint on it. And the bigger base, I went, what I'm trying to create here, we have just normal dirt here and cracked earth in this little mini crater that she's standing on. So my story is that she created this crater by coming in for a landing really hard. I don't think maybe it doesn't make sense, but you know, that's my story. And here you can see I've started applying a very thin glaze of paint to her wings because I had some very dark red. This is burnt cadmium, I believe, mixed up, and I wanted to see what it looked like over the appreciated primer layer. It looks okay. I might keep going and make the wings red. And here we have all the other the Reaper minis I've started with simply they're cleaned, applied, glued to bases, and had some texture applied to the bases. Not much to say really. It's my normal. What I use these days mostly is this earth texture paste from Vallejo for just about everything. It's so much simpler than the old method of basing grit and glue. And yeah, I'm just about to prime these. I'm in no particular rush to do it because I've still got lots of other stuff to paint. But yeah, it's just a couple of minutes work. So that's everything you've seen before, I think. And there was no mail call at all this week. Nothing new in the way of miniatures arriving in my mailbox. So the final segment this week is going to be about new projects adding into the pipeline. Not that I need them, but I always start something new every week anyway. Now, last week I added some new Reaper miniatures, so it's non-Reaper week this week. And I mentioned recently that I have all these Midlam miniatures piling up from Kickstarters, but I've never painted any of them, so let's rectify that. And for my first foray into the Midlam miniatures universe, I thought I'd do something relatively simple. This can be sort of batch painted because it's the cultists, and they're all very similar. They're all these octopus-faced robed guys, some of them with daggers, some not. Some of them taller than others, but overall, very, very similar to each other. You know, one of them has sort of a throne, but that's about it. So yeah, not a lot to say really. I'm curious to see how these will go together, but maybe by next week I will have started at least the cleanup process. That's always the first step. So that was yet another video done, another week passed, another grain in the hourglass of life. But I will see you again in a week. Until then, click like on this video, subscribe if you haven't done so before, comment, share the video if you feel that it justifies sharing, and I'll see you again in a week. Till then, I'm Daki Young, signing up.